Irish superstar Conor McGregor appears to be having the time of his life in Abu Dhabi. On the occasion of the F1 Grand Prix, McGregor's restaurant, the Black Forge Inn, set up a pop-up pub in Abu Dhabi. McGregor was downing a glass of drink in one of the videos from the venue. In another, the Notorious can be seen flaunting his UFC Championship Belt to the crowd and taking pictures of it. Do you think McGregor will return to the UFC, or is he enjoying his life too much? Let us know in the comments. UFC Vegas 65 results. UFC Vegas 65 took place last night from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, and MMA Gold News has you covered with all the main card results. The original main event between Derrick Lewis and Serghei Spivac was pulled from the card at the last minute due to Lewis' stomach issues. The main event instead featured a light heavyweight clash between Kennedy Nzechukwu and Ion Cutelaba. Nzechukwu earned an impressive win on Ion Cutelaba. In their light heavyweight clash, the Nigerian fighter landed a huge knee to Cutelaba's face, then followed up with another, before ending it with some huge strikes against the fence. For the other main card fights, Charles Johnson earned a split decision victory over Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Della Maddalena defeated Danny Roberts to earn his third first-round knockout in 3 UFC fights. Muslim Salikhov got back in the win column by defeating Fialho, and Cortes-Acosta got it done via unanimous decision against Chase Sherman. Khamzat Chimaev dismisses Francis Ngannou's fighter pay complaints. Khamzat Chimaev recently spoke to ESPN MMA's Brett Okamoto and implored fighters to remember their past and be grateful. He also spoke about the difficulties he faced personally.
A lot of guys talking about UFC don't give us like good money and that things, you know. They go back and where they've been 1, 2, 3 years ago. They don't remember that, you know. I was homeless almost, you know, so there are a lot of guys as well. And the big guy, what is his name, Ngannou, he talking about they don't give him like good money and these things. And he was speaking about he live on the outside before. Why he don't do it now, right now, you know. But has to appreciate everything happening with you. Just fight, the money.
Khamzat doesn't have anything personal against Ngannou, but feels his frustration with fighter pay is misplaced. Khamzat also claimed that his UFC 279 paycheck, despite missing weight and getting moved from the main event slot, was the biggest night financially of his career. This came after his UFC 273 Fight of the Year contender against Gilbert Burns. Do you agree with UFC's current fighters' pay? Let us know in the comments. Gilbert Burns gives 2-word response to Khamzat Chimaev's rematch call-out. Gilbert Burns recently addressed Khamzat Chimaev's call-out for a rematch in Brazil at UFC 283. Derrick had a succinct response to the welterweight behemoth who proposed the idea of a fight in the middleweight division. Khamzat claimed that he wants to challenge the freshly crowned UFC middleweight champion, Alex Pereira, on his home turf. However, if that fight matchup fails to materialize, the Chechen-born Swede has Gilbert Burns on his mind as a viable option. Burns responded to Chimaev's call-out on Twitter by simply saying, "Any weight. Would you be excited for a rematch between Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev?"
Hey man, they were saying he was like 220 pounds.
Could have been, yeah. I mean, he certainly gets above that in between fights, and he has a hard time making 185. It's a bullshit thing. It's basically sanctioned cheating. It really is, but everybody does it. But Izzy barely does it. When Izzy went up to fight Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight, he weighed 194.
On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast with Steve-O, Rogan expressed his awe at the size of Alex Pereira while they discussed the main event of UFC 281. Discussing the showdown with Steve-O, the popular comedian spoke about the size of the Brazilian. The UFC commentator further outlined the effects of gaining muscle for someone like Adesanya, citing its effects on endurance and movement due to more oxygen required by the extra muscles. Israel Adesanya recalls helping late UFC legend Anthony "Rumble" Johnson prepare for title fight back in 2015. Israel Adesanya paid tribute to UFC legend Rumble Johnson, who recently passed away. The last stylebender also recalled the time he trained with the former light heavyweight title challenger. Rest in power, Anthony Rumble. In 2015, I had the privilege to be invited to AJ's camp for his title shot. This trip really cemented in my mind that I could hang with the world's best. Sparring with Anthony was such a rush. Always humble. Thank you, Rumble. Israel Adesanya also posted a screenshot of his DM with Anthony Johnson, where both fighters share words of support.
I know. Well, hey, I'm putting some ideas in your head.
Page and seeing who else, from a wrestling credentials standpoint, is anywhere even comparable.
Would you put Islam in that category, though? I know it's more grappling, but
it's so hard with them because I mean, obviously they do, like him and Khabib, they crush people with wrestling. But you asked me from a wrestling perspective, and without seeing them, even Chimaev, who I think they all in that area, they all grow up wrestling, but without seeing them at a relatively high level, it's hard to say because there's even been some guys who, I mean, like GSP probably would be the most prime example, who have almost no wrestling background, but yet use takedowns really, really well. But that doesn't always translate into regular wrestling. It's correlated probably, but it's not a direct translation.
In a recent interview with James Lynch, Askren claimed that Bo Nickel and former UFC double champ Henry Cejudo to be among the best wrestlers in the UFC currently. Upon being asked about his thoughts on lightweight champ Islam Makhachev's wrestling skills and his potential inclusion on the list, Askren stated that despite being quite capable of wrestling, the current lightweight champ still has to climb a relatively high level to be on the list. Do you agree with Askren, or is Makhachev one of the top wrestlers in the UFC at the moment? That's all for today's video. If you want to know the latest UFC news, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, and click the like button so you don't miss any details about the upcoming fights. Thanks for watching. See you soon.